Jared Williams lives a 2-minute walk from the Carpenter Lane Regional Rail Station. The train, along with a brief ride on the Broad Street line from Suburban Station to Spring Garden, would get him to school in about 45 minutes. Yet despite Regional Rail's convenience and relative speed, Jared instead takes the H bus from his house to Erie, transferring to the Broad Street line in order to arrive at school, a route that can sometimes take twice as long. The unfortunate reason is simple.
As of right now, it's just too expensive to upgrade Transpasses for $10 a week. You might as well just take the extra 15 minutes a day or half hour a day, 15 minutes a trip. Then the $10 just isn't worth the convenience that it provides.
Jared isn't alone. Other Masterman students like Julian Alma Rosas, who lives on the same block as the Overbrook Regional Rail Station, also take longer, less convenient routes to school in order to avoid the $10 upgrade fee. Over the course of a school year, this can really add up. Living so close but being unable to take advantage of a quicker commute can be frustrating.
The $10 upgrade, or however much it was, I'm pretty sure it was $10. It was a little bit too expensive, or not a little bit too expensive, it was pretty expensive to just keep paying that $10 every week when I could be going to other things.
I mean, it sucks. It really does. Sometimes you just, you look at it and you go, wow, I don't want to go through all the traffic, taking the bus and the train and not knowing what's going to come on time. You're at some point, you're forced to pay the $10 just because it's there for a reason. There's just no reason. You should pay to, especially going to school.
Vilnius Chackers, who also lives mere minutes from a regional rail station, wants to take advantage of the supposedly quicker system but doesn't, both as a result of the upgrade fee and slower service.
I kind of find it funny that it's there and I have so little experience with it.
So why is the system set up this way? And how does commuting to school relate to larger transit equity issues in the region? For many transit equity advocates, like Fifth Square, a local urbanist political action committee, the COVID-19 pandemic has provided the perfect opportunity to push back against SEPTA's peak-oriented service. As Will Herzog, the executive chair of SEPTA's Youth Advisory Committee and a Fifth Square member, puts it,
we're going to have to reimagine the role that regional rail provides for the region, and either to have riders anymore, because a lot of folks are working from home, and we can see because regional rail ridership is literally down 90%. So only 5 to 10% on any given day of riders are back and riding, and people are going to make decisions following COVID-19. Flex work's going to become more common. People won't use regional rail very often because they might be working from home, and when they do, it might be for only a couple days a week, or maybe there'll be less traffic downtown, so they'll just drive. So we need to think more about the role that transit plays in the region and adapt regional rail accordingly.
Regional Rail's current scheduling system, which mainly caters to suburban workers commuting into the city in the morning and out in the evening, hurts commuters without access to cars traveling to jobs outside the city. A 2018 ULI Philadelphia Technical Assistance Panel report on the North Philadelphia Regional Rail Station pointed out that despite limited and underutilized service, about 90% of SEPTA's weekday rail users from the station are reverse commuters. We also spoke with Aaron Fraint, a senior transportation planner at the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, who told us, if you live somewhere in Philly but are trying to commute to the main line to work at a retail job, there's a very high likelihood that the schedule as it currently exists won't get you there at the time you want to be there. Additionally, jobs held by lower-income Philadelphians, those paying less than $40,000 a year, are more likely to be located outside the city center than jobs with higher salaries, compounding the issue. However, a reimagining must also include changing how regional rail is perceived by the greater public. Its focus on bringing largely suburban upper-class whites in and out of the city has left many Philadelphians who believe regional rail is a luxury service on the outside looking in. It's a sentiment echoed by Herzog, and in many ways by Masterman riders as well.
Regional rail has, up until the COVID pandemic been a very separate and segregated institution.
To start, just the regional rail is a lot cleaner. I can't really say I've been on a regional rail and I've had the smell of urine in my face or anything of the sort. I can't say I've had that experience. You can tell it's cleaner, it looks cleaner, smells cleaner.
According to Michael Noda, a Fifth Square Transportation Steering Committee member, this de facto segregation is nothing new for regional rail.
Regional rail riders have been overwhelmingly suburban, white, and rich for a very long time. Before SEPTA was a thing, this goes all the way back to when these were Pennsylvania Railroad and Reading Railroad trains.
For now, Fifth Square is advocating for SEPTA to set up regional rail trips within Zones C and 1 as transit base fare, allowing Transpasses to be used within those zones, which according to Michael Noda would cost SEPTA roughly $100,000.
There's very little potential downside for SEPTA. There's a lot of potential upside for riders. So
these are seats that were empty before the pandemic. They're empty now, certainly.
Yet the position also acknowledges the difficult spot that SEPTA finds itself in, with Michael Noda writing that despite the great number of benefits to having as much fare parity in the city as possible, achieving that goal while maintaining SEPTA's good fiscal standing is going to be a complex and iterative process, and Fifth Square is still calibrating their next set of fare policy asks. The statement is symbolic of the tension underneath almost all transit equity issues in the region. SEPTA needs money to survive, and yet it's incredibly easy for small price differences to have inequitable outcomes. For example, SEPTA already has one of the lowest base fare rates for a major city in the country, 50 cents lower than New York or Chicago. Despite that, Philly transit riders still pay a higher percentage of their income towards transit than in other cities due to Philadelphia's high poverty rate. Similarly, as a result of regional rail's higher operating cost at $8.98 per trip, compared to $4.22 per trip on buses in 2019, regional rail may always have higher fare than subway or bus service. Nevertheless, SEPTA has still been exploring greater fare parity for regional rail, commissioning the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Committee and Aaron Fraint to investigate regional rail fare equity, including the potential impact of fare parity in Zone 1. Additionally, last spring SEPTA approved several policy measures that advocates had pushed for, such as offering one free transfer and allowing children under 12 to ride for free. But for many Masterman students, like Jared and Julian, who both live outside of Zone 1, those hypothetical fare changes won't actually change anything at all, putting them in a tough position.
It's a missed opportunity. It would be beneficial if I could get on there for free, but I'm unable to due to the hefty $10 fee to upgrade every week. And yeah, I'd say that if I could use it, I definitely would.
Whether the School District of Philadelphia can afford to pay for student rail passes, or whether SEPTA is willing to honor student transpasses on regional rail in the future is unclear, as both SEPTA and the school district were unable to provide an interview before our deadline. But Aaron Fraint says SEPTA has an existing discounted fare policy for K-12 students, and as a result, it's reasonable to argue that high school students and younger are their own special group that should have some special considerations, much like how SEPTA provides discounted rates for senior riders. However, many of SEPTA's current policies continue to perpetuate inequities.
Why are the burdens of a fare falling most heavily on people that who affordability is the strongest barrier to mobility?